I have a little bit of time at the bus here. I'm going to be removing that crossbar. Decided I'm going to push the tub a little bit further into the bedroom than I had previously expected. So that bar's got to be... actually, I may not even reinstall it, but the side lips will probably still be useful for anchoring things like cabinets or whatnot. But I think the floor is going to be a little bit lower than that bar. So, change of plans on that. But I'm going to drill out the couple of rivets on each side holding that in place. So it's incredibly soupy out. Very rainy for the last few days. I thought the spray foam had solved this little drip I had in the roof, but apparently not. So I will have to get some elastomeric sealant up there sooner than later. Got a little water running on the panels there, so that'll probably need a little bit of touch-up paint when I fix the leak. So anyway, stuff happens. What I'm doing right now, since it's too rainy outside to go back and forth with wood, is I'm using this Minwax wood filler, and I'm filling knots like that one. And then that was a rivet hole and a crack. I'm filling those rivet holes and defects in the wood so that I can start priming the walls. So that's what I'm going to do real soon here. But I'll fill these knot holes here. I think I didn't always use the sanded side when I did the walls. I wasn't paying attention very well. So anyhow, nothing that wood filler and lots of paint won't cover up. Okay, I drilled the rivets out on that crossbar. I'm starting to lay out the lines to frame in the Whirlpool tub here. I need it to be 22.5 inches off the floor. I'm going to be leaving 36 inches from the edge of the Whirlpool half wall over to the tub, or the toilet, for the toilet, I'm sorry. There'll be a composting toilet there. I'm leaving 36 inches for the toilet area, so it's not super claustrophobic. This is going to come out to about 4 feet from the wall. It's going to be floor to ceiling, except, well, not really all the way to the ceiling. It's hard to explain. There's going to be a roof inside, so to speak. That'll be a storage area, but the mini splits are going to be fastened up there. It'll also be where the rain head for the shower mounts. So I'm not quite sure how high I'm going to make that. I've got to take some measurements for the head units of the mini split as far as how tall they are. But anyway, right now I'm going to be screwing part of the support for the Whirlpool. You'll see I've drawn a line here down low. That'll be where a 2x4 goes across as support for that Whirlpool. And that'll allow a little bit of room for a mortar bed under it as called for in the installation. And I've got to make sure that I'm going to be able to move it all the way over as far as I need to and not have problems with the wheel well. So that'll be, that's a bit of a question mark right there. What I'm doing right now is taking some measurements here. I'm going to be framing out the area in the bus where the Whirlpool is going to go. So it looks like the central part there is about 24 inches wide where that metal plate is. Overall, it's just under 48 by 60 on the outer perimeter where the sides are. And at its widest point of the tub, it's roughly 40 inches wide. So I'll be able to use a 2x4 base, sort of a base plate. And from there, I'll be able to frame up with 2x3s. And then I'll cap it with 2x3s, and then that'll be 48 by 60. And I think I'm going to screw an outer layer of plywood in. I've got to think about whether I'm going to have some runners or it's just going to be a plywood wall with the waterproofing and then the cedar. So I've got to think about it a little bit as far as how the framing's going to work with the plywood. But one side's actually going to be at the floor level of the bedroom area. So I'll have to account for the width of the flooring as well in that measurement. So I've got this piece of iron here clamped. I'm going to make the top of the tub support at 24 inches. The tub with the mortar bed is only going to be 22 and a half, but I'm going to use a 1.5 inch, 2 layers of additional plywood under the base to kind of help strengthen the load or the ability to support the load of the water. So that, or at least one more sheet of plywood and extra mortar. So anyhow, I'm using this metal to kind of create a straight line. I'm going to support it on the other end to make sure the top is 24 inches. I've already kind of marked the wall. Basically above that with a 2x4 is going to be the 24-inch mark. I'm going to screw a 2x4 into the wall as one of the support lips for the tub and work off of that toward the other side of the bus. So I've got this piece of wood trimmed, and I notched the back of it a little bit so that I have 1.5 inches right here. If you can see that. Oh, back up a little bit. 1.5 inches right here for 3/4 ply plus this flooring piece here that is 3/4 inches thick as well. So that'll fit in nicely like that. Sorry, I don't know if that put the screen upside down or what, but I've got it so that this will be right flush with the lip of the tub at the flooring piece. Okay, so I cut the cross support that'll be the edge of the tub all the way across. I might need to shim it a little bit, but I had to notch the corners. There's about a 1/4 inch difference in my level, judging from that metal rim down there, which should be as close as I have to a reference point. But anyhow, I've got 1.5 inches on this side for 3/4 ply and the 3/4 flooring piece, which is upside down right there. This is Armstrong wooden flooring that I got from a reuse recycle place. Was never actually installed or anything. Got a lot of that for the bus. But that'll be the flooring in the bedroom platform that will tuck under the lip of the Whirlpool and then have caulk. So that piece of wood's in place. It'll get supported in the middle down to the floor as well, braced. But there's about a 1/4 inch difference in the reference point on this side versus the other side of the bus, measuring from that rim. So trying to make up for that. So at this point, I'm going to put some pieces on the floor coming out from the wall and tie into the edge of that. You see I've made 1.5 inch mark on the wall for the width of the 2x4 that's going to span across. So at this point, I'm going to keep going with framing this out. Okay, so I'm making some progress here. Got kind of the upper lip kind of roughed in. After that, I'm gonna use the square from the floor and mark where the bottom plates are gonna go and get them put in. All right, so this should help visualize. I've got that cribbed in place with a temporary piece of wood there, an old 2x4. That's lines there at 24 inches. But just kind of getting a feel for the space. I think this is the right dimension here for the commode area, not to feel claustrophobic with the tiny sink. I'm leaning toward the idea of embedding the sink here over the platform. I don't know if you can visualize this. I'll back up, but the sink I think will be embedded over the platform. And then there'll be a countertop over it from the other side. That's my thought process. Not sure about that yet. It might just hang on the wall here in the back of the shower. Probably depends on what my wife thinks, actually. But the platform floor here will be about 8 inches tall, which will cover the white part of that metal there. So I'm continuing to frame in the tub. I'm going to check my work with some measurements, and from there I'll be dropping down with the square and try to mark the floor where the base plate's going to go of 2x3, around the perimeter. And then from there I'll cut pieces to reinforce and use pocket hole screws to reinforce this rail that's going to hold the tub lip. So it's coming along pretty quick here. I've got that base plate piece of 2x3 in place here. Now I'm going to take some diagonal measurements and double check my work, and then I'll be putting some uprights in place along with another base plate going the other direction. Okay, so it's coming along here, framing in the Whirlpool tub support. I've got the basic perimeter done here. I'm going to do the bottom there, going over toward the wheel well. From there I'll fill in some cross bracing in the middles. This side here is going to have only two close to the edges because of the pump being there, to be able to access the pump for any repairs or remove it. I'm going to frame in the bottom with some plywood. Most likely I'll run some stringers up where the walls will go, so that I have something to screw into for the cedar. I'll run 16-inch centers. I've got some pieces of inch and a half that are going to go sort of on the outside here. So this will be good and sturdy. I think what I'm going to do now is spot check with the diagonals like I mentioned before. Haven't done that quite yet. Alright, so the diagonals are within 1/8 of an inch. Good enough for me. Wood butcher that I am. That's within the margin of caulk. So I think this is good and square, or rectangular to be specific. And I'll put this base plate on the bottom, and then I'm going to be completing the process here of framing this. And actually the hot tub support will help support the bedroom floor as well underneath this long piece. So I'm building the cross bracing here. I've used some plywood to kind of secure these in place. I need to get some longer screws for these 2x6s. These are also supporting the bedroom floor. They'll get further support when I frame in the wheel wells. Now I'm going to start over here and get probably 3 in the middle and 1 on the end. Four more, I think, supports. Alright, so I got the basic shape here framed in for the Whirlpool tub. One edge against the wall, and this comes out next to what'll be the composting toilet over here, and a sink somewhere in that space. Water heater I think will be mounted up high above the toilet. Washer and dryer will be facing the toilet, coming from the kitchen on that platform. You won't be able to access it from the kitchen, just from the bathroom area. There'll be a half wall here, 4 feet out, actually, 4 feet out from that wall. Going up, there'll be a wall, and similarly on this side there'll be a 4-foot wall going up, and then the 2 feet of the tub here and this side here that I'm standing next to, these will be open, and then there'll be some steel so that we can use a magnetic shower curtain to kind of keep water from spraying out of the tub while we're showering. But this side here is going to be the back support with the jets. The pump will be on this side. Over there, why I left the wall kind of notched there was, that's the overflow. That little tick mark there is the center of the tub. So I left room for the overflow to go there. The only question mark right now is where that drain's going to come out. I think I'm going to have to elbow it and slot the wood a little bit going over this way to get into the bay. So we'll see how that works out. I'll make sure I've got that assembly all ready to go, when we drop the tub in place. I'll first dry fit the tub without that drain assembly, and then I'll do it with the final drop in with the assembly as part of it. So lots to do yet. I'm going to have to red guard the wall. That wall is going to be red guarded and get cedar right up against it. These other walls on the sides here will also get red guard and cedar, as will the ceiling. On the corners here, I'm thinking I'll have some 2-inch steel fence post going up on each corner for 2 reasons. One is for the magnetic shower curtain. The other is if you're walking back to the bedroom while the bus is moving, it gives you a grab point. So I'll have to figure out how to anchor those securely to the frame. But that fence post will probably serve to indicate the height of the ceiling of the shower. I also need to take measurements once I choose a head unit for the mini split, because one mini split's going toward the bedroom that way from the roof of the shower, and the other one's going to the front from the roof of the shower. The lines will go down next to the shower on this side near the bathroom. There'll be a chase, and they'll go down into the bay and feed over. Most likely, I might most likely mount the condenser in the engine bay over here if I don't find room in the skirt somewhere, but not positive on that. But anyhow, I've got this framed in. I hope I did it right. I certainly left enough room for mortar. I'm going to have to add more layers of plywood to lift this up a bit. The height's 24. The tub's only 21 and a half. Calls for about an inch of mortar under it. So the floor is going to need furred up with some extra plywood, but that's intentional because first of all, there's a bit of a slant from when I repaired that metal flooring near the wheel well. There was a bit of a rise there. And then second of all, the weight of the water, I'd like to have extra layers of plywood to distribute that on, just to make sure it's nicely secured. So anyway, lots yet to do on this project. So I'm at the bus. I spent most of the day trying to add a seat to the used canoe I got a while back for a river trip this week. But I've started here inside at this point, and I'm putting the uprights in for the Whirlpool tub. These are going to hold a sheathing and cedar wall on this side. It'll come out, I thought it was about 36 inches. As far as how far the wall is coming out, there'll be a sort of open end of the tub for a shower curtain. But anyhow, I'm getting this lined up on the wall, and I'm going to start screwing it down. So I just set a second post here, or stud. So, and again, what'll go on the inside by the shower is going to be some red guard coated, it'll be red guard coated sheathing. It's fairly thin, and then it's going to have, with stainless steel nails, I'm going to nail oiled cedar planks to that red guarded wood into these studs as far as what the nails are going to sink into. So first I'll screw the sheathing in place and then sink the cedar into the studs. It's going to be a 3-foot wall on this side, a 3-foot wide wall on this side, and then this back wall is just going to be as is. Before I get too much further, I need to bring the tub in here, make sure I haven't made any grave errors as far as the dimensions. I'm pretty sure I've got it right, but I need to lay out where the drain's going to go and so on. I'll need to find the center of a floor panel in the bay, which means I'm going to probably slide the drain over with an elbow, probably about a foot. Sort of where that crack is probably about where the drain's going to go through the floor. I've got about 3 inches of space below, plus the extra space under the tub where the mortar's going to go, so it shouldn't be an issue. So right now I'm at my house here. I actually bought this Davy Crockett Green Mountain grill. It's a electric pellet smoker, runs on 12 volt DC, has an adapter for 110. This is going to go into the bus's slide out bay kitchen, and it'll have the legs taken off of it. It'll be mounted on a steel, sort of a steel frame that's going to have the ability to raise up for cooking height, but that'll also have the wok burner and probably a little propane grill along with a griddle and a sink and cutting board. So anyhow, I am giving this its first pre-fire. I'm going to use it here at home for the summer while I'm while I'm working on the other parts of the bus, but I'm going to make some burgers on it tonight. So I've got to give it a pre-fire for a little bit to cook off any of the manufacturing oil or whatever. So anyhow, pretty simple so far. Just assemble it, put a little bit of pellets in the hopper, or put pellets in the firebox, put some pellets in the hopper. Now I'm going to hit the start button and get it going. So I'm at the bus here. Finished my little canoe project. Maybe I'll throw a picture in this of the canoe. But just use some bus scraps to build a seat for that. And so I've got the wall here, or the half wall for the Whirlpool. I've got some sheathing up. This is going to get red guarded on the other side. I've got these uprights spaced so that I can use these decorative frames. I got like 20 of these for $5 a piece long ago at a restore place. They'll have painted metal, possibly perforated metal squares on the inside. I'm thinking white perforated metal, so that we have some venting of this wall, since there could be moisture. And then I'll make them removable so we can access the plumbing. But I think these will look good as the upper wall in the bathroom. And then down below here there will also be probably some perforated metal or other metal that'll be removable to access the Whirlpool tub jets and things. So, and then there's going to be a 8-inch false floor here, so all the plumbing and piping from the kitchen and the composting toilet urine will be able to drain into the bay, into the tanks. And I'm not sure if I'll have one drain hole or two. I might have it so they're shared with the Whirlpool and have one drain going down, to be determined. But I'm making some progress here on this wall. Be aware when you're doing stuff like this that the slant of the bus will always be a factor. I had to trim 1.1 off the one end of this piece over here so that it would sit against the wall flush. So I'll be caulking and red guarding and then put the cedar on after that. Okay, so I've added a little piece at the top, and I've left it with enough room so that I'll be able to put a cross support in and have the, I'm going to use some 3/4 ply for the ceiling with the with some 2x material to kind of support things, and the extra room here at the top is to allow for that. And then there'll be cedar on the ceiling too. I think what I'm going to do is cut the piece that's going to be in the ceiling to the right size, and then I'll red guard it and put the cedar on it outside, along with some supports. And then I'll put the top cap on it as well, and then possibly even, well, I think I'll probably wait on the top cap because I've got to put the rain head shower in. But then it will just rest on top of this sheathing to kind of hold it securely in. And the wall that I'm going to build on this side here, which will be just a mirror image of this one, that wall will also support that ceiling. And because it's exactly 4 feet wide, as is the edge of the tub here, that will work out pretty well. So anyhow, that's the plan. I'm going to keep at it. So I'm at the bus here today. I'm going to be working with the boys to get the Whirlpool tub kind of rough fit so I can draw some lines for the drain hole that I got to drill. I got to make sure I'm coming into the bay with that. Might jog it over a little bit to the left here, I think. Probably right near that seams where it's going to go through. But we're going to bring the Whirlpool tub in, dry fit it, take some measurements so I know how much mortar to buy, how far the gap's going to be. And then from there, we're going to, after I make the markings, we're going to set it over here out of the way. And then I think I'm going to get the pavilion out here cleaned up today. And also, if I'm really doing well, I'll get some painting done here on the walls. After that, I'm going to red guard these walls and the top of the wood here. You know, try to waterproof this area. Before I put the tub in place, after I've got the wood lifted up with some more plywood, I'll be putting some very heavy gauge plastic in to protect if the tub should leak, if the jet should leak. It'll be tacked in place on these pieces of wood, sort of as a safety mechanism to funnel the water down into the bay instead of on the wood floor. But I will be painting all this before we install the tub, and red guard above the tub lip, on the lip, and above the lip for the sides. I'm not going to install that side until we have the tub fit in place. I want it to be a snug fit, but allow for removal of the tub just by undoing the cedar slats that are going to go over it. So anyway, that is what we're up to today. Okay, so with some help, I got the tub put in place. Figured out that back end is actually flush with the rim, so I got to cut this or deal with this a little differently. But unscrewed that quickly, marked the hole. Now I'm going to make sure that I have access to the drain going where it needs to go. So I made some marks. At this point, we're going to take this out, and I'll cut the drain hole after I clean up today. Alright, so what I'm doing right now is just using the circular saw to slot through the floor insulation here in the 3/4 ply. I'm going to pop the wood out. Then I'm going to use a hand saw, it's under the wood right there, to kind of find the metal flooring. I think what I'm going to do is run the drain line from the tub all the way out under where the composting toilet's going to go. Then the urine from the toilet will meet up with the pipe there. It'll go into a P-trap under in the bay. And that way I only have one floor penetration. So I slotted the 2x right there so that the pipe can go through there. But anyhow, I'm gonna get a screwdriver and pop this wood up. Okay, so I've been sawing with the circular saw and that Japanese finishing saw, and popping things out with a screwdriver, trying to remove the insulation. I'm going to put the drain in place here in the slot channel. It's going to go over there and down into the bay. So I'm going to keep at it here and carve a channel so that we can get this done. Okay, so I think I've found the metal here on this whole channel. My intention, once I put the pipe in, would be to hit some spray foam in there to kind of stabilize that pipe so it doesn't vibrate. But anyhow, I'm going to clean this up, and at this point I think I've got a deep enough slot for sure here for the drain. So what I'm going to do right now is apply this Aqua Defense. This is a waterproof barrier. I forget the name brand of the stuff most people use. Actually, it's Red Guard. It just dawned on me. That's the knockoff Red Guard I got from Lowe's. So I'm going to paint this wall. I'm going to paint the top of these. And this wall as well. Eventually I'll paint this after we mount the tub. I'll paint the other side of that when it parallels, or it is opposite this wall here. So but I want to get the tub in place before I fasten that, just to make it easier. So anyhow, I'm going to get started painting. Alright, so I've started painting this. It's got quite a smell, pretty strong. But it's going on fairly easy with the brush. So I think it'll be pretty quick to get this applied. Okay, so I ran a bead of caulk at the bottom, up the seam here, and then also along this side. When I mount that after putting the tub in, I'll run a bead of caulk as well. So anyhow, this is coming along pretty quickly. I'm getting the paint applied, or the Aqua Defense. I guess it's not really paint, it's more thick. So anyhow, I'm keeping at it. Okay, so I've got the Aqua Defense painted on these pieces here, some of the rails. Haven't done this back part yet, but I cut the piece for the ceiling of the shower. This is 3/4 ply. I'm going to paint the rough side so the smooth side is up high for the storage area. So I plan to be able to stow some stuff up above the shower. And so I'm going to put a coat of the Aqua Defense on this side and let it dry. that'll be about all I get done tonight. But it's been a pretty productive day. So what I'm doing right now is I'm roughing in the drain. I went to Lowe's and grabbed my plumbing parts for all the drains on this level. I'm going to have all of them come down to this spot here to drain through the floor. That'll be under the composting toilet. And the urine from the toilet will also join that there. There will be a deep P-trap, not meaning urine, but meaning plumbing trap. There will be a deep trap down underneath instead of a HEPVO that most people use. I'm going to just make a really deep traditional trap. That should work. If it doesn't, I can always install HEPVOs later on the various items. So there'll be a clean out up here, a clean out at each sink, and a clean out down below as well. So I should be able to access for any clogs. But anyhow, I'm going to get started by plumbing the Whirlpool here, with the overflow being the first item. So I'm going to connect the overflow to the drain and kind of build the assembly out to where it needs to go. Okay, so I put some adhesive bathroom caulk on the back side of that PVC, and now I'm going to use the screws to pull it in together tight, and that will seal. This actually has rubber here on the back end. I actually have it backwards, so I'm going to turn that around. Okay, so that overflow is in. I kind of smeared the caulk around back there, just wipe some excess there, nobody will see it. And then from the front there, this looks to be able to adjust to half flow, full flow, or totally closed, I guess, if you want to fill the water level up on purpose. So anyhow, next thing will be to get the bottom drain threaded in, and then from there, I will pull this down, cut some PVC, and start gluing pipe where it needs to go. Okay, so I've got this dry fit. I didn't initially dry fit everything. I glued some of this. I probably should not have. I ended up having to split this pipe and use a union here because it was pushing too far down based on the sweep of the connectors. So if you're working with PVC, learn from my mistake here and just dry fit to start with. Then do your gluing once you're certain that everything's the way you want it. So anyhow, I'm going to get this all glued up, and then I think we'll be situated to be able to drop the tub in place. And then I can start drilling the hole down here to be able to put the pipe through the floor. Okay, so as is typical, I got the purple stuff everywhere. I don't know how you don't. And this is all glued together. So this will be able to drop down on the slot here as we put the tub against the wall. I think my next step here is to put another coat of the waterproofing membrane on and build maybe get the floor painted, get some plastic in place, start figuring out or framing the mortar bed. I got to get a couple 2x4s to hold mortar up in place. I think I'm going to put them on end just to kind of help keep the mortar in position. The mortar has to cover those skids and support the skids all the way down. So the plan here is to not have to put mortar all the way through the flooring here, but to put it just where the skids are going to be, maybe about between my legs. And to hold that in, I'll tack some wood down. But I do want to waterproof this flooring in case this ever springs a leak. My intention is to lay plastic down underneath the mortar and have that set up so that it flows into this channel here and down into the bay. If we do ever spring a leak, I'll create a plastic barrier before I drop the tub in place. Okay, so I've caulked the seams and the plywood. Now I'm going to paint the floor with the water barrier. This won't be perfect, but it should prevent major damage if there's a leak. So I'm going to paint this with the water barrier, and then I'll start building a structure to contain the mortar. I'll need to take a couple measurements here to validate on each side, because there's a bit of a slant there where the wheel well is from a patch job that we did before in the very beginning of the build. So the mortar bed will be a slightly different height on that side by the wheel well versus over on this side. So I'll need to fill in the wood accordingly. I think I'm just going to kind of loosely put the wood in place, and then I'll heap the mortar up in the middle, and then it'll basically squish out all over the place when I sink the tub in. That's the plan anyway. So hopefully it goes well. I need to get some mortar. Probably should have bought that when I was in Lowe's. I wasn't even thinking about it. I was fixated on the pipes, but I'll have to get some mortar, and I think after I paint, we'll be ready to put the tub in place, roughed in. Okay, so I've got the Aqua Defense second coat painted on the walls. I've got a coat on the floor. That's a bead of caulk to kind of direct any water toward that drain area, away from the wheel well. Alright, so while that waterproofing paint's drying, I'm going to move on to finally putting the side supports under the hatches here to strengthen the floor. That is going to be OSB. We have some 3/4 OSB. It's going to be just fine for that application. I'm not expecting it to get moist. So anyhow, I'm going to take some measurements after lifting this hatch, and I'll be screwing some strips of cut OSB in as vertical supports under the floor. Okay, so I've lifted that hatch. Now I'm going to find out what hidden treasures I have here and clean up a little bit. I expect that this should be pretty quick to put these supports in. I'm going to stuff some insulation in behind. I will be boxing in wheel wells. I'm going to need to use some liquid nails to fill any holes that I see in the, any screw holes I see from when there was metal stripping around those. So anyhow, I'm going to get started sweeping up, and then I'll take some measurements, and I'll cut some long pieces for the sides here on both sides. The idea here is these are going to be cargo boxes. I'm going to cut hatches, probably on this one, probably one sizable hatch. On that one over here, I'll probably do 2 hatches, make it easier. We'll be using this one here more frequently for storing dry goods and things after grocery shopping. They're going to go down into the floor, things that we are just packing away for longer term food use, as we travel, and other miscellaneous storage, pots and pans we don't use very often, etc. But there'll be 2 hatches to make it easier to lift those. And I intend to, I've got the flooring here. This is Armstrong hardwood flooring. I intend to find the right length of screw, which is probably 1.25 inches. And I'll be gluing them from the front and then hitting them with screws from behind to do the flooring. And the floor lines are going to mirror the hatches. It won't look perfect, but we'll probably have runner carpets covering those anyway. And I'll be happy with that. There's no real good way to do trapdoors and make the flooring look, totally normal. So anyhow, that's the agenda. I'm going to cut these pieces after cleaning up. Alright, so I got these side pieces in place. I think this will really stiffen up these floors. Should take all the creaking out of them. And I just need to square things up. I'm going to put some wood blocking in behind some 2 by 3 blocking in behind the board just to keep it square. So I'm going to find my square and then tap this back and forth till it is square. And then I'll set the blocking in gently from the other side and get it all screwed down. So that'll keep it upright. This one I tapped in a little too far. I'll have to tap it from the other side to make it square. So anyway, this will work nicely. Then I'm going to do the same thing on that one there. Alright, so dovetailing again here, I'm going to start painting the walls with some primer. This is just some wood filler where I got the rough spots. So this is PVA primer. I'm going to get a coat of paint at least in the back here, maybe halfway through the bus before I take off tonight. Okay, so I threw a coat of primer on the walls in the back here. It's definitely brightening up the space. So, I definitely think white's the way to go inside of a bus, just to make sure you get enough light everywhere. So that's it for the evening. I've got a lot done today, and I'm going to head home, get a good night's sleep. Okay, so I'm back at the bus here. It's actually Memorial Day. Got a couple hours here to get this tub put in. I went and got the thin set mortar. So what I'm going to do right now is vacuum out the hole here. I'm going to use tubes of caulk to bead the bottom. Then I'm going to hit it with some rubberized spray, and then I'll be putting a sheet of plastic down before we actually get the mortar set in. That will help, I think, help protect from water. So anyhow, I'm going to get at it. Okay, so I caulked the well here, and then I sprayed rubber flecks all over the corners and on the edges of the plywood and everything, so it'll channel any moisture that happens to fall out of the tub here down into the floor drain. I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap, tiny gap, for water to creep through, and in that way it will keep the flooring safe. And then I went ahead and sprayed the edges here. The next thing I'm going to do is get some plastic laid down in the well and then out here. And then after that, I'll be working with my son to drop the tub in place. Then I'm going to trim it out for the mortar bed, and then I'll add the mortar after lifting the tub up with some blocks of scrap wood. So anyhow, that is the plan. Okay, so I used this thick plastic that the insulation sheets were topped with to basically create a moisture barrier to funnel any water that might spill out of the hot tub down into that channel to the drain into the bay. So the next step here would be to get the tub dropped in and then fur out some wooden strips to kind of set the mortar against to funnel the to kind of secure the mortar to the bottom where I need it without using too much mortar. So anyway, that'll be the next step. Okay, so my son helped me lift this tub into place. What I'm going to do is take measurements, or well, depth measurements, and I'm going to put some 2x4s in place to hold the mortar, and then I'm going to put some OSB underneath the mortar so I don't have to use as much mortar. After that, I'm going to lift the tub on blocks higher than it is now, and then I'll pile the mortar in under it with a trowel, and after that I'll be able to drop the tub in place and it will be secure. Once I have that done, I'll be able to block in the motor mount to kind of keep it from shifting at all, as well as possibly up front here, but that would be hard to do, so probably just the motor mount will get blocked in. I got the plastic under there. It'll get stapled up on the side once we're done. Alright, so I've got some OSB in there. I've just got to screw it down. I'll pull this plastic down and show you. It's sort of right up against, there we go, sort of almost up against the drain there at the edge. So that's going to be a platform for the mortar. I'm going to put the 2x4s up higher with another level of 2x4, and then that'll hold the mortar bed in place and kind of keep the OSB in place as well. And then I'll pile up the mortar after I lift the tub up on blocks. So this will be pretty quick. Okay, so right now I have this blocked up on the edges. Now what I'm going to do is just create a pile of mortar in there on that board. I know that on this side it's roughly 1.5 inches, and on that side it needs to overlap by about 2.5 to 3 inches. and then we'll just drop it in place and squish the mortar around and be good to go. So that's what I'm doing. Time to mix up some mortar. Okay, so I've got my mortar mixed here. Got a flat shovel I'm going to use to scoop out of the bucket underneath. Tub's raised up. Now it's time to add the mortar underneath. Okay, so getting the mortar in was kind of a pain. It was very sticky, but I've got weight in the tub. It's in position, the drain's in the right spot, and hopefully I see mortar squishing out here. Looks like it is good. I'll look underneath real careful. Let's see here. Just make sure that the mortar is squished. Should be good. The skid's definitely down in it, so I think we're happy. Actually, the mortar overlapped the skid, so that's a good sign. All right, so I'm going to leave this and go make some Memorial Day dinner.